Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jared Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jared Moon here with Joe Courtney. What's up, Joe?
Hello there.
And we have Kevin Owen. What's up, dude?
Hey, peeps.
All right, man. Well, let's jump right into it. Tell us a little bit more about what you do and how you train.
All right. I work in federal law enforcement, and I train, obviously, using your programming and down in my basement for the most part. So,
awesome. Basement athlete. So where are you located?
I am in Frederick, Colorado.
Okay. Yeah. Basements, that's not a thing in Texas. You can't.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's almost a thing everywhere in Colorado. So for the most part, some places don't, but for the most places, yeah, they have it. So,
Joe, are there basements in Maryland? That's where you're at right now, right?
Yep. I like basements. We have our house growing up always had one. That's where I was at.
Yeah. All right. So, does it get pretty cold there?
Yes. That's kind of the reason I transitioned to my basement, because I used to train in my garage actually. And I put everything in the basement as soon as I was able to, just so I can train year round consistently. So, because there's times that, it gets like the high for the day is like 15 or even 5 degrees or something ridiculous. And then in the summer it gets up in the hundreds, as probably you're well aware with being in Texas. So
yeah,
I'd do the same if I was somewhere cold.
Yep. So just makes it so much easier. And I have a vent right above where my workout area is too. So that way, if it gets too cold, I can just crack that thing open for a little bit and heat it up just for a bit and shut it and get going. So it's good.
Nice.
Yep.
And so what kind of equipment are you working with in the basement gym?
I'll give you a little tour starting at the base here. So as you can see, I got my plyo box that I built myself, different pairs of shoes for squatting and then running for everything else. Have sandbags, my Concept 2 rower with all the slam balls back behind, double set of mostly all the weights for
lots of kettlebells.
All the kettlebells
goes and goes. Crap.
And then I got my squat rack or power rack from Rep Fitness, which is where I get most of my gear. And then back around the corner in my basement, I have a nice little decent size pad for mats, because I train jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai. So I do a little bit of everything as much as possible. And I use this, I use the whole gym. I use everything down here when I'm doing lunges and stuff like that. So that's my equipment for the most part. So anything new I usually buy from Rep Fitness just because they're local, and it's pretty comparable to the stuff you get from Rogue and anything like that. So
I've always said that if for the one piece of equipment question, if you get a barbell and weights, then I think you could get a full rack of kettlebells just like you have. I would love a full set of kettlebells.
So what's the story behind the kettlebells, man? Well, you had was it like 30 kettlebells? That was a lot of kettlebells.
Yeah, I go all the way from 9 pounds and it goes all the way up to, I think it's 103 or 101. Let me look real quick. It's 106. So, but the story behind it is I used to do a lot of running the rack. And so, I would start with deadlifts, and I would just, instead of just using one, use two, and I would do like sets of 20 and then jump off and go do something like push-ups or bench, and then bump back down to the next kettlebell weight and then up it by 5, because I'm going down in weight. So I try and keep the same workload basically going throughout the whole workout with whatever I was doing. So that's the whole reason behind it. And I started just probably like most everybody else with just the one, which is upstairs, but it's a 35-pound kettlebell. I thought that I would never need any other one because I was doing CrossFit and everything was with 35-pound kettlebell. So, but then I realized the advantages of having multiple for one, and then also having various weights for two. So I just started adding to it one day and just kept going. So
that's awesome.
That's that. Yeah.
I love a good selection of kettlebells. I have no doubles. I used to have a double, and that was only because someone lent me their 53 pounds. I had 253, and then after about a year, they remembered and took it back. It was nice having two of the same weight, though.
Yeah. No, it really is, especially for like the farmer's carry workouts, stuff like that. And then you could do, I think it's suitcase carry with waitress carry, like that, multiple like that. You could do stuff like that. It's really nice. So and that way, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying, how long, you said you started with one and you've worked up. It looks like you have a pretty good selection. Like, how long have you been doing, home gym, basement, garage gym, all that stuff? How long have you been training at home?
Since I was 18 years old. So I'm going almost on 20 years now. So, cause I'm 35. Yeah. So I've been going at it for a while. So
that's awesome, man. That's really cool.
So, and I've, I started out with, just a simple rack that I found when I was 18, when I was getting ready to graduate, cause I was a power lifter in high school. And, it was this guy, he was selling this rack outside with literally just a York bar with some York clamps and this homemade squat rack that he was selling for $300. So I was like, sweet, this is a great place to start. I'm getting ready to graduate. I need something. So I purchased that, and I've just been adding ever since. So
that's really cool. And I'm assuming you've moved. Have you moved in that time frame, or been in the same house since 18?
Nope, moved since then. Yeah, at the time I was living with my grandparents in the basement. I had it down there, and then moved out with my first ex-wife, and it was in the garage there because I was still training powerlifting at the time, and then got divorced. When I got divorced, my gym went to my living room, and it was there where I started doing some CrossFit stuff. So I started adding to it there a lot, and then bought another house, which was also in the garage down in Aurora, Colorado. And then now this one specifically with the basement, when my wife and I now we're building the house, specifically went to 9 feet instead of 8 feet for the basement. So I can actually add all the stuff that I have, do double unders without any issues and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yep. That is really cool. And that's the only problem I've ever seen with basement gyms. We had a house in North Carolina, but the basement ceilings were really high for some reason. But I've been in some other ones where it was, like, I don't know, like 6 or 7 feet tall. Like, it's like, how do you manage it down here? But that's really cool.
Yep. So yeah, when we built it, I knew I was putting the gym in the basement. So I specifically, and it was relatively cheap to have them dig the extra foot. So I was like, yeah, dig it out, make it as deep as you want.
So that's cool, man. Now, what are some of your goals right now in training?
So, since joining your programming, I've realized my weaknesses is endurance, and it always kind of has been, just because I've always, kind of been gravitated towards, strength training. And so, I'd like to get a 6-minute mile or less is my goal for endurance. As far as strength, I would just like to, maintain what I have, if not slightly improve it, for the longevity portion of the training, which is where I'm at. So, just yesterday I tried the Monday workout for Hard to Kill, and I realized I can't do pistols very well. So that's something else I'd like to at least try and get to where I can do those relatively easily. So
that's good, man. You got a nice goal list there. And so what were you doing pre-Garage Gym Athlete? I mean, you've been training for a long time. So just what other things have you been into? You mentioned CrossFit. What else have you been doing?
As far as gyms go, because prior to, working out as far as powerlifting and stuff like that in high school, I've been in sports my whole life, since I was, 5, 6 years old. Started out with soccer. Then it was wrestling, soccer and wrestling. And then it was soccer, wrestling, boxing, and more soccer. And then I got injured, which is kind of how I got into powerlifting, because I had knee surgery on my knee, my left knee, when I was 15. And then once again when I was 18. So it's what made me really want to stick with it and, make sure that I can keep it as strong as possible. So that's when I was powerlifting from, I'd say, about 16 years old. And I started competing, did really well there. I weighed 165. My numbers were pretty decent. I had a 275 bench at 16. And then I had a 465 back squat, and then a 475 dead when I weighed 165.
Nice.
So, and then, so I was doing pretty good numbers wise with that. And I didn't know, back then I didn't know of any other type of training other than strength training, or bodybuilding. That was the big hoorah back in the early 2000s. There wasn't a whole lot of information about this sort of stuff. And then I started working out. Once I got to my garage, I started falling into the world of CrossFit and started seeing some stuff like those types of workouts where you're, some of them where you're doing a lot of weight, right quick, supersetted with something else and, trying that. And it was just like, oh man, this is a whole new world. So I started doing stuff like that. So, and that's kind of how I fell into it. And so, yeah, I've done, a lot of sorts of different training, just strictly lifting, strictly cardio. I've done that for a while. A lot of body weight stuff for infantry because we do, granted we do rucking and stuff like that too, but in basic, all you do is a lot of body weight stuff the whole time pretty much. Mm-hmm. And then as I've transitioned out, I realized the benefit of needing cardio. So then I was starting just kind of, as you call it, pickles and ice creams, just throwing, strength training in with some cardio stuff and, just kind of finding my way and ultimately ended up here. So.
That's awesome, man. Glad you're here too. I think that's a really cool story, and you've been a lot of places. Now, this is kind of a different question than normal, but for someone who's maybe a little bit earlier on in their journey of fitness, what's something that they could what's something that's just like kept you with it for such a long period of time? Because some people are starting, they've been with training a year or two. You've been training since you were 18 years old. It sounds like you've been incredibly consistent. So what would I don't want to move to the best advice question that we normally ask at the end, but just like the consistency thing, what would you say keeps you consistent?
Truly, it was for myself. I struggled with alcohol at an early age. I had a lot of trauma, when I was, younger, about 15, 16 years old. And so to transition out of that, I found PT instead. And so that's what's kept me motivated from the early years of starting to lift and work out. And then with my career and where it's taken me with military and, law enforcement, and I'm on, basically our SWAT team for my agency. Essentially it's a special response team is what we call it. And, my motivations are still the same, obviously keeping myself, up to par with everything. But furthermore, it's not only about myself, it's about my team, and if I fail myself, then I'm failing my team at the same time. So it's kind of an added motivation for me to, stay on top of it and, stay in the best possible shape that I possibly can keep myself in. So it's kind of been a lot of things overall, but, initially it started out with just, kind of trying to maintain and, stay away from the stuff that makes me go down the black hole type of deal. So.
Yeah, and it sounds like you just have a lot of big reasons, which I think is something, if anybody's trying to take something away from that, I think, and I've talked about this over the years a lot. It's just it's got to be bigger than just a small, I want to lose 5 pounds. It's got, and if anyone listening, just listen to what Kevin said. Those were gigantic reasons why he wants to stay on point. So I think that's awesome, dude. So good on you. I think it's really cool.
Thank you.
Now, how do you like training in your basement gym?
Oh, I love it. It's best decision I've ever made as far as training goes. So yeah, I've had, so I traveled sometimes for work out of states. And so we get, put up in hotels. So I've done the hotel little workouts. And then a lot of times if I'm there for longer than a week or wherever they put me up, then I'll find a gym and I'll get in just the closest gym I can get to so I can still, lift some weights and, get under some resistance. So, and this will be the first time, because this is my first cycle, just getting ready to end, that I've been with you guys. So it's actually kind of nice that, I'll actually have the programming with me when I go to a gym and kind of have to figure that out because I've always had my basement. So that'll be a new challenge if I get to travel again, once all the COVID stuff kind of settles down. So.
Yeah. And we got multiple routes for you there to make it a little bit easier.
Absolutely.
All right. So what's the hardest workout you've ever done?
Oh man, that's so hard to answer because I've done so many, and I think it just depends on, where you're at and where your body's at too, I remember my first CrossFit workout being horrible, and it was, I don't remember the name of it, but it was like a 275 deadlifts for 7 reps. And then you hopped off and did burpees and then double unders and you were right back to it. And I'm not a fainter. I'm not a guy that, tends to get nauseated during, crazy workouts, but I was close on that one. Second one that most comes to mind was during SRT tryouts for, going through it. I was trying to do literally every rep at 100%. And, we were wearing body armor and stuff, and we were done with this little smoke session and I went to stand up, and I remember trying to walk towards the picnic table where they told us to go sit down. And thought I was walking that way, but I was not. I was walking like at a horizontal angle. So they had to like grab me and set me down and pop my stuff off. So, but yeah, so it's kind of hard to answer that, because I remember some of the wrestling workouts are absolutely horrible too. So, but as an adult, I guess to put it relative so people can understand that one, some of the hardest one I remember doing through Hard to Kill so far, 2 of them actually. One was the 30-minute run with 5-minute rest, and then another 30-minute run. That was brutal. I'm not much of a runner. I actually hate it. So I was not happy with that one. And then the other one was I think it was a 20-minute ANRAP with 10 minutes off, and then another 20-minute ANRAP. It was, I think, sort of mid-programming. And I was smoked at the end of it. And I remember walking upstairs, my wife saw me and she's like, holy crap, like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I just need a minute. So, but I guess that's the best way I can answer it, because there's, like I said, I have a long history of it. So there's a lot going on there. So.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I walk in from the garage sometimes, and I get the same response. My wife goes, "Are you all right? Like, you're looking a little bit whiter than normal. Like you're about to pass out or something." I'm like, "Okay, well, I guess I should eat some sugar or something. I got to do something."
Yeah, exactly.
Now, in your opinion, what's the best activity for building mental toughness?
I've been through a lot with my life, just that is kind of out of my control. So just life in general, just having to deal with the tribulations of that. But the next best thing, if you haven't experienced anything like that, or, anything close to it, is honestly just doing PT. And so, and stuff that you don't think you can do, like when you say like, oh man, I wish I could run a 5K. Like it's different if you're under injury, but if you're not, and you do it, it's like, oh man, I just did that, I never thought I could. And, like, that's why I love the Meet Myself Saturday workouts, because a lot of them, most people probably have never done anything like that. I've done similar stuff in the military, but still, like the Iron Mile, like I remember that one specifically. Like I've never done anything like that before, even with all the military and other training that I've done. So, and even that, I was just like, oh my God, like only 95 pounds. And some dudes are doing it with 135, with like 19 minutes. And it, took me 26 to get with 95. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, this is okay. Like, this is next level stuff. And that's one thing I really appreciate with the programming, is there's still another level. They still have that competitor level where you're wearing a weight vest, doing most of this stuff. And so that's what I really like too, is that there's always a challenge. And so, again, getting back to the original question though, of mental toughness is, trying to, find that bridge between that turmoil or that heartache, whatever you're going through, whether it's through PT, through, manipulated stress, or, stuff that you can't control, to a successful outcome, whatever that may be for you, whether it's, getting, better numbers on your PT, or whether it's just coming out the other side of whatever you may be going through, successfully, to where, you're actually doing well with yourself, whether it needs, go through counseling or whatever, or just, find your way through life. So that way you're not going down those rabbit holes or getting into the weeds of stuff that can draw you away or put you in some place that's, can potentially make you bad decisions. So if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And I also agree, like, so much with the fitness side of that too, of what you were saying, is I just feel like physical training can teach us so much, and sometimes people don't realize that. And whether it's through Meet Yourself Saturday, but even with like the long-term consistency thing, like that teaches you a lot about yourself. There's just so much involved with it. And I think, finding it at an early age can really transform your life and who you are. And I think it's awesome. So I agree with that 100%. Now, if you could only have one piece of equipment to train with for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Barbell all day.
Awesome.
Even with your rack of kettlebells?
Yeah. No, I think it's my history of the barbell. That's where I started. I literally had a rack and a barbell to start. And so I think that's why I'm always going to be gravitated towards it. So, but because even then, if I had just the barbell, I could throw the kettlebells on the side if I had to and duct tape them to them. So it's always the barbell.
So money not being an issue, what would be something you would want to add to your basement gym?
It's going to be in some sort of assault bike or air dime or something like that. It's going to be the next thing. So
awesome.
Yeah, those are great to have, especially high intensity. Real quick,
That too. And then plus, weather coming up is going to be winter soon. So I'm definitely going to need something other than the rower to keep me entertained down here. So
air bike will do it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, man. A lot of garage gym athletes out there listening to this. What would your best advice for them be?
Consistency. That's just it. Just get it in and getting it in. However you can, whenever you can. If it's, you only have 10, 15 minutes to do something, that's better than nothing, and because I've had days where I literally just, try and literally go through a AMRAP in 7 minutes as fast as I possibly can and smoke it as best as I can just to get something in, because life does get crazy with families and work schedules and all that stuff. So just trying to get it in as much as possible. So.
Love it. All right, Kevin. Well, I appreciate your time today, man, and doing this interview with us. I also appreciate you being a garage gym athlete. So just thank you so much, and thanks for being a part of the community.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. I appreciate your guys' time as well and what you guys do for us. So it's very much appreciated.
Yeah, man. Thanks for listening to the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.